Hi and welcome to Literary Hype. I am Stephanie, your Literary Hype Woman, and today's author conversation is a fun one because it includes a lot of good-natured ribbing. Sarah Henning is the author of the Lies We Conjure. This is not the final cover. This is the art cover. She has a different cover for the final version, so don't be looking for this one when you're out in the stores. Anyway, so Sarah Henning and I talked about this book at San Diego Comic-Con, but we are from the same area and we went to rival schools. So therefore, we had to harass each other frequently about our college choices. Because she went to KU, I went to K-State. We're mortal enemies. But when it comes to books, we can all be friends. So without any further ado, here's my conversation with Sarah Henning. Welcome to Literary Hype.
Thank you.
I would say it's exciting to have you on, but you are a Jayhawk and I'm a Wildcat. So I have mixed feelings. I have mixed feelings. We can get along for the sake of books. We can agree on that.
100%.
So your book has a subtle reference to KU.
Yes.
Why would you do this to me and call it out so that now I'm like questionable how I feel about things?
I mean, I think it's just that people remember that Jayhawks exist, right? There's so many Wildcats. It's easy to say you're a Jayhawk because there's no other school.
It's true.
I know.
We're a good. What?
My 9-year-old really likes the Wildcats, though, because she loves cats, and we live in Lawrence, so this is going to be a problem later when she's college age, I'm sure.
I grew up in the Topeka area, so it was, if you were a smart person, you were a K-State fan for football and a KU fan for basketball, and then you grow up and you have to pick, and it's like, oh,
no.
Now what do I do?
I know, but I do root for K-State, like, when they make it into the NCAA tournament farther than us, because we've had some off years, I do root for them. And all Big 12 schools. Yeah.
I support the Big 12 because then I was an athlete and you got merch when
What'd you do?
rowing.
You did? I had a roommate that was on the KU rowing team.
So I probably lost to her.
Well, maybe. I think you're younger than me.
Maybe a smidge. Who knows?
Oh.
I'm older than I look.
They're very impressive, like the rowing teams.
It's a lot. It's definitely a lot. So you're here at San Diego Comic-Con promoting your upcoming book, The Lies We Conjure, which by the time I get to editing, it'll probably be coming out this week.
Awesome.
So for those who haven't seen it on social media yet, what is your book about?
So The Lies We Conjure comes out September 17th, so whenever this airs, just so you know. And it is Knives Out with Magic. So it's a closed room murder mystery with witches and two girls who are not witches who get stuck in the fray and are totally like, magic exists, oh no. And if they don't basically solve the murder and find these 4 relics, then they're going to be stuck there forever with these sexy witches.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun. Yeah.
So with a closed door mystery, you have to know a lot about these characters before you go in. So what is your process like for figuring out what pieces of the backstory are relevant to the story?
Oh, yeah. So this is told in multi-POV. So it's 2 POVs. It's the POV of a non-witch, Ruby, who is like, oh my God, like, what did I get myself into? And Auden, who's a witch. And that really helped because Auden kind of can give the background without it feeling like an info dump, and you get to know all the different witches as Ruby's trying to figure out, oh my gosh, how does this work? What are these people? And you get sort of 2 different points of view of like the structure of the murder mystery. But yeah, figuring out who did what, how it works, and then adding the element of magic, which can, kind of up end things in like a different way, was super fun to kind of figure out. Because you still have rules with magic, of course.
And that was going to be my next question, is how did you approach building your magic system for this story and deciding what way you wanted to take these different families? Yeah,
so like there's 4 different families at this fancy dinner party where the hostess dies and starts this whole process. And they all have different lines of magic that you realize over the course of the book are a little bit more connected than they think. There's blood witches, elemental witches, celestial witches, and then death witches. And they all do magic a little bit differently, but they're kind of like at their core from the same place, which is why they've banded together in the secret society sort of thing. And so figuring out the different ways their magic would work and how they would use it, especially in this tight confines, and they couldn't use it against each other because that's in the rules, was kind of fun to figure out. Yeah, for sure. I had spreadsheets.
I was going to ask if you're an outliner.
I have to be, because people need to know what I'm doing. Like, I used to be a little bit more loose, and like I would plot like certain spine like pieces of the book, and then like if things happen in between, like whatever. And I'm still kind of like that. If I'm surprised, the reader's going to be surprised. And so if my brain goes left from my outline, I'm like going left. Like I feel like my subconscious will like never really let me down. So I do plan, but sometimes your first plan is not the best plan, and the story should go another way.
That definitely happens. So it's like the plotting, but also with the freedom to pencil it all.
Yeah, for sure.
You're a plantser.
A plantser, yes.
Which is appropriate since there's some plant stuff.
There's plants, yeah.
It happens.
Yeah.
But yes, so there's definitely some really strong Knives Out,
Yes.
Clue vibes. How much did you watch those shows to kind of pull inspiration?
So I love mysteries. I have a background reading them. Like the first books I wrote were mysteries. Of course, that's not how it worked in publishing, but like I really always wanted to write one. And then with the popularity of Knives Out, it was so fun to see people who are not mystery people get like excited about the closed room murder mystery, and like, yeah, it feels really claustrophobic, and like everybody has motive, and like figuring all of that out. And so I was like, I want to do that, but with magic, and I did.
As one does.
I can.
Going along with the crafting of the magic system, since one of your main characters doesn't know it,
Yes.
how does that inform how you build her character and her world and her perspective?
Yeah, because her world is turned totally upside down. I mean, first of all, she's in this dangerous situation, but also like, oh my God, magic and witches exist. Crap. And she's expected, people think that she's a witch, the way that the plot works. And so then she realizes she has to keep up this ruse, but not actually do magic. And so they're kind of always coming up with reasons, she and her sister, like to not do magic, so that they'll know that they're not actually who they say they are.
What is it about? You've written several books.
Yes,
that are
this is my
magical.
9th book.
Yeah, and several of those are magical fantasy.
Yes.
What is it about that genre that you love so much?
Oh, I just think it's so much fun, and I love writing for kids. So like I have 2 contemporary books, and they, hit a different audience than the YA fantasies, but this is my first contemporary fantasy. I just, and magic is fun, and I've explored it in different ways. I wrote, my debut was Sea Witch, which is about a witch who ends up becoming the Sea Witch. And then the sequel to that, I had to figure out how magic works through actual mermaids, because they're magical beings, and it's sort of like a little, like, it's a problem like that you're trying to solve, right? Like magic works in different ways depending on the people, and so like setting up this magical system was completely different than those books. Like, but no matter what you do, you have to set up rules and know when to break them, or people will just like call you out. You can't do like hand wavy, magic. It was magic.
Poof! It happened.
It's more dramatic if you know the rules, because then you're expecting certain things, and so then if things happen against those rules, then it gets to be more exciting.
How much thought process goes into when to break the rules so that you don't break your reader's trust in what you're doing?
A lot. Yeah, you don't want to do that until like the 3rd act. Like,
because buying into the magic is so important for these kind of books, and if you break it in a way that doesn't make sense, you can lose them so easily.
Oh, 100%. People are like, well, that jumped the shark, and throw it across the room. I don't want them to do that. Not to get too spoilery, but like in the back third, like it's not a broken rule, but the magic is elevated in a way that the reader and some of the witches don't expect, because it's just not something they've seen in their lifetime. But it does follow the rules. So like that was kind of fun to figure out, like, okay, if you're going to amplify this, how are you going to do it? And I don't want to say much more because it'll give it away.
It happens.
Yeah.
There was a quote that I really loved from it, and it was, if there's one thing I've learned from being a bookseller, it's that people really love unraveling a mystery. And it's so true. Readers love a good mystery. What is it about combining mystery with your magic that you loved so much?
Well, I mean, like, I love reading mystery, and I love the explosion that's happened in the contemporary side of YA, with Karen McManus and Holly Jackson and Jennifer Lynn Barnes, like, really taking, like, the YA mystery to, like, the next level. And so adding the added element of witches was super fun, like magic in general, because it just seemed like the next evolution of that. Do you watch The Office? Or have you seen The Office? Okay.
Many moons ago.
Okay.
But yes.
So Michael Scott, he at one point is taking improv classes, and he is Michael Scarn. And that's always the character he plays in these classes, and he always pulls out a gun. And he's like, well, what's the most dramatic thing? I can always pull a gun and shoot someone, like, in his improv. And I feel like it's like you add magic. It's like uplift, like moving everything up just a little level, like just like Michael Scarn and his gun.
My handwriting is so bad.
Mine's terrible.
Okay.
It's a journalist thing.
Honestly, because we write so fast. Yeah. It's like, scribble the note out before I forget.
Yes.
Try to get all the quotes out before I forget.
Yep.
It happens.
Yep.
Yeah, so you were a journalist.
I was a journalist, yeah.
What did you learn while being a journalist that has helped you write fiction?
It's been so helpful. Like, knowing how to work with an editor. I'm not precious about anything. I can always work to a deadline, no problem, of course. And then also, I think as far as writing dialogue that feels real, I always tell people to read the newspaper, because if you're reading a story, you're seeing different points of view from different people and how they will say it. And I think that that's very informative when you're writing dialogues, because you don't want everyone to sound the same. You want them to have different points of view. And, reading real news stories is a way to teach yourself to do that. And I think as a journalist, you kind of learn to hear quotes. Like, as they're saying them, you're like focusing in on that and going, that's what I want. And I think that's helped me in writing. Like, sometimes I'll write out the dialogue first and then kind of build around it. And, when you're a journalist, sometimes you get the quotes and you order them and then you structure your story.
Do you also have the problem where you can't write if you're on unless you're on deadline?
I give myself deadlines for sure. Like, and sometimes it's an artificial deadline that I'm beating myself up over, but it helps because I need to know when these things are due and I need to be able to plan out multiple projects a year.
So multiple projects a year?
Yes.
What do you have cooking next?
Next, after the Lies We Conjure that comes out September 17th, next fall I have an upper middle grade called Running Back to You. It's set actually in Kansas. Yay! In the high stakes world of high school track, about a girl who's never been kissed and lies about it and comes up with this whole plan to join the track team and get the attention of her twin brother's best friend so she can get her first kiss and not have actually lied about it. She's trying to retroactively fix it. So it's real cute. And it's about ninth graders. My son just finished his ninth grade year. So it's kind of fun to write about kids that are the same age as mine. And then in 2026, I have a book called Such a Witch, which is Clues Meets Wednesday. So it's part fluffy rom-com, part murder mystery, and literal witch hunt. And it's super fun.
Sounds like a good old time.
It is.
Also, you run ultra marathons?
I did. I still run a lot, but I don't have time to actually go to the marathons. So I still run 50, 60 miles a week, but I don't actually show up to any races anymore. I'm too busy.
Just so much running.
But a lot of thinking. It's like my plotting time. And I also listen to a lot of audiobooks during that time. But I will stop on the side of the road and thumb tab notes into my app and before the sun rises. I'm sure people driving by are like, what the hell?
It happens. And that's something people don't think about a lot with the thinking part is part of the writing process.
Yes.
Just because you're not fingers on keyboard does not mean you're not working on your book.
100%. So many times you're mulling over a problem and you're just trying to get there before you go on because you know that once you have that worked out, it'll all be a breeze relatively.
Anything else you want to talk about?
I don't have anything else I can talk about.
So there's secrets.
There's always secrets. It's publishing.
It's true. Well, the last question we always ask, because this is Literary Hype, what books are you hyped about?
Oh my gosh. I just started the Thursday Murder Mystery series. And there's I don't know, 4 books now, but but Morgan Matson told me about them at Y'all West, and I was I'm going to read that. And they're just these lovely, British, hilarious, murder mysteries that are set in an old folks' home. But they're hysterical and it's very calming and soothing for how chaotic the world is. And so right now that's I'm just living in that world. It's just having the audiobook go in my brain. This nice, lovely book. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for taking time to talk about your books.
Thank you.
Thanks again to Sarah for taking time out of her San Diego Comic-Con schedule, which San Diego is wild, and scheduling these things is a challenge sometimes, but we made it work, and I am so thankful that we did. Even though we harassed each other quite a bit about our school choices, it's fine. We're fine. We're still okay with each other. It's good. Anyways, if you want to get a hold of Sarah's book, The Lies We Conjure, or any of her other books, the links to do so are in the description for you. If you enjoyed this conversation, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to this channel, turn on the notifications by clicking that little bell so you can find out when more author conversations are coming your way. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next time.